if I, with my hydrogen alpha filter, with my equipment at my location, want to see the main extent of this nebula, I want a 20 signal to noise ratio. I just need 28 minutes. I can also down here see how long my individual subframes should be if I want for the main extent, and I want to make sure that I don't lose any signal in the noise. I actually have to go all the way up to 10 minutes. If I can do just 5 minutes, I'm losing 7%. So I should actually go quite high here. I was browsing around various astronomy subforums and I came across people mentioning this tool called SkyTools 4. And honestly, it is amazing, and I'm really looking forward to show this to you because this is a game changer for me. What this tool does is it allows you to make scientifically accurate calculations with your equipment and based on your sky conditions on exactly how long should your subframes be and how long should your total integration be in each filter in order to reach your desired signal to noise, desired image quality when the final image is produced. First of all, SkyTools comes in two varieties. It comes in a visual for visual observation and a imaging version. You can pick whichever fits your requirements. Just know that this is paid software. You can see the prices here on screen depending on what it is you want. The one I'll be showing you today is the SkyTools 4.1 imaging version, and I should say that I paid full price for this myself, and this is not sponsored or anything at all. So here we have the tool, and at first it might look quite complicated, but don't worry. I'm gonna show it to you how it works, and then you can see it's actually not that bad. The first thing you want to do when you get this tool is you want to type in all the information about your equipment so that they can use that information to do all the fancy calculations. So if you go up to setup and let's go to imaging system. You can see here that I've already created a imaging system when I was testing this, but just for good measures, let's go ahead and let's make a new one. For the purpose of this video, we're just going to call this one for demo imaging system, something like that. Okay. First of all, you can type in tons of information here. We can say whether it's a private, a shared, or what kind of system it is. So we're just going to say it's a private system. It's our own telescope. Next, we can set our OTA. And again, we can go and say, okay, you give your OTA a name. This is my Newtonian, as you can see in here. You can choose what type of telescope it is in here. You set your aperture, you set your focal length, then the F ratio should be calculated. Is there a focuser built in? Because this is a Newtonian, you of course have the center obstruction % of diameter. So you basically measure how big is the diameter of the secondary mirror obstruction compared to the full diameter. I actually haven't done this. It just came default at 16, so I just left mine at that. But I probably should go and do that. But you can also just maybe say make a new OTA. So let's just call this one my VO Zenith Star. My Zenith Star is a refractor. It's a 4-inch refractor with a focal length of 340. Oh, hold on. We should do this in millimeters. There we go. Okay, there we go. I think that's all we're gonna need in here. Just gonna type that in. Next, we can go into the cameras and we can do the exact same thing here. You can of course go in here and you can pre-select some cameras already typed in. If you want to that, you can do that in here. But we can also just type in our own as we've done here. So you just basically type in all the basic information for your camera in terms of pixel size, camera resolution, the bit depth. And you also go in here to the gain settings. If we go into edit, you can see here, I've just set the information for 0 and for 100 gain. What I would usually do is you can see what you need to set is stuff like the basically all the stuff that ZW delivers in these graphs here. So you just go in and you take your 100, for instance, you take your 100 gain, then you read out what is the read noise, what is the E gain, what is the full well depth at these different gain levels. You just read those off the graphs and you just type those information in. Where do they go? There we go. Type that in here so that it all is correct. And again, the same thing with the quantum efficiency. Again, you can go and you find your quantum efficiency curve so you can see the different wavelengths. You can see the quantum efficiency at those wavelengths. Type in all that information. It takes a bit of time, sure, but you only really need to do it once. But anyway, you set up the type of your mount. You set that up. If you have any if you have any like reducers or fill flatness, anything like that, you can put those in here, add all that in here. And then of course down here we have access to the filters. Now it comes pre-configured with a ton of different filters, so there's a good chance that you have something here that kind of like resembles. I found some that just resembled the filters I have. That was pretty close, but weren't necessarily 100% accurate. But you can also just add your own filters, as you can see here. But you're gonna need to upload a specific file format and figure out how to make that. So I started with, just to get the tool working, just, you know, created my own filters. But you can go in and see the filters here, where you can now see the curve, how that light curve is. So I just found a light curve that kind of matched the filters that I'm using. Here, optional, here is optional built-in guide chip. So if you have one of those like duo cameras from SkyTools, you can just enable that in here and say, what is the offset for the CCD chip, pixel size, and the pixel resolution. You set all that in there, and then it just handles that as a single camera with a built-in guide camera. It's really, really cool. But what we can also do if you go up to the setup is, of course, we go into locations. So you can see here, this is a location I really like to go to, that I often go to or drive out to go and image from. But we can add a new one. You can again pick from a list here. So I'm in Denmark. Can we find Denmark here? Denmark. Yes, and it has like, you can choose a city if you just want to do that. But of course you can also just go in here and then just manually type in GPS coordinates with lat and long, if you wish to do so. You put in your time zone and daylight saving rules and stuff like that, and then you type in the sky brightness. It comes with its own suggestions, so it has its own like light pollution map built in, where it gets it from. But if you have the opportunities, you can just either type in a border scale, type in the actual sky brightness if you have a tool to measure it, or you can just use the one that they suggest. But basically, you just type in all the information about your location, and now we have almost done setting up the tool, and we can begin to do our calculations. Now, the first thing I recommend you do is that you jump in here to the target list. And here it comes with a bunch of default lists. So if I want, for instance, I want to see just Messier objects, I can just take the Messier, and now we have all the Messier objects in here, and we can see those on our list. Now, I like to create my own lists of the targets that I'm interested in. I can actually see that I've done that. I've made a folder down here called My Targets, and then I have field target and observatory targets. This is because I'm working on an observatory, setting up my own observatory in the not too distant future, hopefully. And I have some targets that are going to be more suited for the equipment that's going to be at that location, and I have some targets that are going to be more suited for the field kit that I'm going to take with me out when I'm going out taking pictures. But let's just for good measures, let's just make a new folder. Let's call this one for demo. And in the demo folder here, we're going to create a new list, and let's call this list for demo lists. Whoops, especially if I could type. There we go. Great. So now we have our demo list, as you can see here, but it's obviously empty. So now we need to attach objects to it, put things you want to take pictures of into the list. So if we go in and we go into data, you can either just do is it in tools? Sorry, it's in tools. You can either just do a designation search. This is probably the easiest way. So if I wanted to take a picture of, let's say, Andromeda, I would type in Andromeda, click search, and it'd say, hey, we found Andromeda and the Andromeda galaxy. It's probably the galaxy that we want. Okay, so we're just gonna take it and we're gonna choose our list. We're gonna add it to demo list. Okay. And add to list. And now you can see Andromeda galaxy now pops up on our list. So that's one way to do it. If you know exactly what target you are looking for, you can just go in, you can type in the name, you can type in the catalog number. I would also type in M31, and it would also find M31. So there are multiple ways. You can see that it also shows up in Andromeda galaxy, of course. Okay, but the other ways you can do it is if you go to tools and you go to database power search, and then you get this window up. Here you can now search, you can filter here over here, for instance, by constellation. So if you know it's in a specific constellation, and this is of course just if we're searching for stars. If we're searching for galaxies, we go to the galaxy tab, we have the same options over here. Or if we go to yeah, this is galaxies in deep sky, so we can say we want planetary nebulas and diffusion nebulas, and we want only ones that are in the Messier catalog, maybe. So we pick Messier, so let's say, and we want any constellation. Okay, let's go ahead and click search.
Search complete.
There we go, with a nice little voice there in your ears. And now you have all the planetary and diffusion nebulas in the Messier catalog, and from there we can of course select them, pick the list we wanted to add it to, or we could select multiple maybe, select all of them, just go add it to the demo list. Boom, there we go. So once we have a list, now we're ready to actually begin doing some calculations with it. So let's just take the Orion Nebula, for instance. We can right click it, and we can either go create new imaging project if we want to make it from scratch, or we can make a smart project builder. I think we're just going to go and start by making it from scratch, and then you can see how the process works. Here you have observation programs, and this is one of the things I think that's really strong with this, because as we're making our observation or imaging project, we can create a schedule, and that schedule can then be sent over to an observation software, for instance like Nina, and you can then basically sit and create schedules for if you want to just plan like an entire week of imaging, or an entire night where it's going to be multiple targets, going to swap around, it's going to change filters and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to choose our imaging system. It's going to be our demo imaging system. Here it is, placed manually. It was under the mosaic thing. Here you go. So now you should be able to take these, and you can just begin to slowly like figure out like how do you want your rotation, where do you want the framing to be, those kind of things. You can sit and play around with that. And as you can see down here, we can also go column and row. So if you want to have, let's say, a 2x2 mosaic with maybe a 50% overlap. Oh, it did update. It just makes the something is wrong noise. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, you can set up your mosaics if you want to, or in this case, we're just going to do single tile and that kind of stuff. But now comes the fun part, and that is the exposure goal and filter settings. So over here, this is where we begin to choose what we want this picture to be, right? So I could say, okay, what is it I want to take a picture of? Do I want to take of the main extent, the fainter regions, or maybe the very faint regions? Let's say I just want the main extent. And let's say for the signal to noise targets, you can see here it's say, okay, good detection, acceptable quality is probably where you want to be, or maybe you want to go all the way to high picture quality. So this is if you really want to go for a high quality picture, or maybe we just want to go, and let's say we just want to take an acceptable picture of the main extent of the Orion Nebula. We're gonna go and say sub-exposure is gonna be, and we can set that to auto. Gain, let's say we want to force that into 100. Now we need to figure out what filters. Let's say that we want to do an LRGB filter for this. So let's select our LRG and B filters. And already now, based on these settings here, you can see here it says, okay, this is the amount of time that I'm going to need to expose with this camera at the location we set up with the sky quality and everything in order to get the target signal to noise in each filter individually. I could crank this up to 30 if I wanted to, and the time is going to go up, and it shows me how much I need in each filter, what gain settings I need to use. Now, what it doesn't show you here is the subframe exposure time. This is the total exposure time. So for that, we actually need to go into the Smart Project Builder here. In here, we can do a lot of the same thing. We have our demo system, we have our location. We're gonna force it into to 100 gain. And let's say now we want to do a color composite image of this, and we want to aim for a high quality image. Okay, so now it comes up with a few different suggestions for filter combinations. So here it says L red and blue. That's not what we want. We can do a L and then the narrow bands. That's not what we want either. What we are interested in here is an LRGB composite, which we have here. Now I suggest with binning 2 for colors. So what it says here is, what it suggests is that when you're shooting your RG and B, you use binning 2, but you use binning 1 for your light frames. And once again, it shows you, based on the settings we've set here, how much time we're going to need in each frame in order to reach those targets. And we are still on the main extent. If we want to go faint regions, we can do that. We can find our LRGB again here. There it is. And we can see, in order to get the fainter regions around the Orion Nebula, we need quite a bit of data. A lot more data. So that's probably not going to be feasible for us. But it's just for fun, try to do the same thing here. If we just go straight into the Smart Project Builder here with the Andromeda Galaxy. Again, we have our demo set up. Let's go ahead and use that. Like so, high picture quality. Maybe we want to see the faint. We just want to see the main extent and the arms, or do we want to see the faint halo? Again, as soon as we begin to ask to see those fainter areas around it, and we want that high picture quality. So maybe now we're saying, okay, we want to see the faint halos. We don't need to see it at a 30 signal to noise. Maybe we're okay with being good detection, so we can actually like see it, but it might be a little bit noisy. And again, we're gonna go and say, hey, we want to do a color image. And for the Galaxy, again, we want to do LRGB. So here we can see the suggestions is we need 17 hours in luminance, 17 hours in red, 8.5 in green, and 9 hours in blue for a total of 52 hours. And here we can see again exactly how many frames, and also what the subframe time needs to be is also listed in here, because that was the other thing that they would show if we created a normal project. Actually, full-on project, if we open the exposure tables here, we can see again in the individual frames, if we go down and find one of the filters, you can see here, as long as we get above, this is for the luminance channel, as long as with our imaging system, as long as we get above a minute, we are not losing any information into the noise. So basically, I could make do with just shooting 1 minute subs and I would lose 1%. So maybe 2 minute subs if I didn't want to lose anything at all in the luminance filter, and that would be fine. For the red channel, I would have to go up to 3, maybe 4 minutes in order to be sure. The green, I need to go a little higher. I actually need to go up around 5 or 6 minutes. And in the blue, again, also need to go up there. So you can see for the individuals how far you need to go. Or maybe you're okay with losing 8% and just staying at a minute. Or maybe going up to 2 minutes so you only lose 4, basically half it each time. That's up to you, but at least now you can make informed decisions about what your subframe exposure times need to be and how much you need your individual frames to be. Once you've set up, then we can move over to the scheduling tab. And if I then select the crescent moon, it now shows here what time of the night this project would be feasible. And we can see here, if we then take and add it to the plan, schedule projects, it goes over here and now it actually makes a detailed plan for when each individual step needs to happen, where we need to slew to the target, we need to do a filter change, then we need to shoot, then there comes a meridian flip, and then there is another pair of subs that needs to be shot, there's a filter change, and then again we take some more images. And I know this is probably a very, very short amount of data, but I've set it up with a short one so you could see all the different things. And this could now be exported. I haven't tried that yet, but you can apparently export all this over to Nina. And you're wondering about these times. It says it's 5 minutes for a filter change. This is configurable as well. Let me see here. Here's the Nina setup in here, by the way. Is it under preferences? Here. Under the imaging system setup, there was a timing window. And in the timing window, you basically say all of the information about how long it takes for each individual task that the telescope might have to do. So I've said, hey, I want a 1 second gap in between each image so that it can have a chance to read the data off the chip. I could maybe set that up to like 15 or something if you want to be sure. What is the slew rate? So it can take that into consideration. If it say, hey, we are starting at this exact second, how long would it take us to slew to the target? Filter change, including focusing. So when you're changing filters and you're refocusing, I said it took 5 minutes. What about focusing alone? All this information, you can just type that in here if you want to. And that's then calculated into your plan so you have exact observation plans. I think it's super cool. And as you can probably see, I really only scratched the surface of what this thing can do. I mean, I'm really only playing with the target selection and the scheduling tab right now. I have not played with the real time and all the other event finder things it has up here, so I don't really know what that is, and I haven't tried to integrate it with external tools or anything. I'm just scratching the surface of this tool. I just think that from what I've seen already, it is super cool, and I had to one final thing before I sign off for today. I just want to remind you that my new merch store is now up and running, where you can get funny mugs like the Caution may randomly start talking about telescope mugs. You can get that on t-shirts too. I have my emergency gravity detector mug, so if you're ever in doubt whether gravity is in full effect or not, you can always just let go and see if it actually still works. Check it out. There will of course be a link in the description. In the next month, it's calculating forward. When is the target gonna be rising? When it's gonna be not rising? When on the night, see each night which targets are going to be available on that night. And now we get into the time of the year here in Denmark where there's